What's up, YouTube? This is True Raw for TV. All right, so I try to be ahead of the curve when it comes to historical topics, and upcoming milestones, and whatnot. So after the Lakers beat the hell out of the Cleveland Cavaliers the other day, I looked at LeBron's performance, and I think he had like 31 points, maybe 2 rebounds, 8 assists, or something like that. And looked at his total points, and I saw 33,513. So I was like, oh, okay, he's getting close. He's getting damn close. And because I knew how many points Kobe had in his career. So Kobe, of course, had 33,643 points. So that's a differential of 130 points. If you look at LeBron's current season average, is 25.5 points per game. If he was to maintain an average for the next few games, LeBron should pass Kobe in 5 to 6 more games. So he should do it either next week against the Brooklyn Nets, or he's going to do it against the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, if his scoring tails off a little bit, maybe he might do it against the Clippers. If his scoring tails off, if it goes up, he'll do it before those games. But somewhere in that area is when LeBron James should surpass Kobe Bryant in scoring. So why did I bring this up? Because it's going to be the talk du jour on ESPN and Fox Sports and social media when it comes to sports, and the blogosphere and radio shows, sports programs. They're going to be talking about it. So I'm just going to start talking about it here. Kick it off. So the debate is going to be, what does this mean? Does this mean that now LeBron James is better than Kobe Bryant? Well, if you feel like Kobe's the best, no. If you feel like Kobe's the best, it doesn't prove anything. If you think LeBron's the best, then it just further proves in your mind, and there's further evidence that he's better. So that's pretty much how that is. People who are indifferent, they might use that to weigh the options. Well, okay, he's achieved this milestone. So how do I feel about this? Should this be enough to push him ahead of Kobe, or is this still not enough? Because people look at different things. Some people look at championships. I don't think championships is the be-all, end-all. I think it gets overemphasized in modern-day sports talk. But I think championships matter. Postseason success does matter. Okay. Sometimes some players, unfortunately, are not able to play on good teams consistently. One victim of that was Dominique Wilkins. I think he was a tremendous basketball player, but unfortunately, he was never really able to play on good teams. The best teams he played on was maybe those Hawks teams from the late 80s, but those teams were not championship contending teams. They were good teams, but not enough to beat the Boston Celtics or the Detroit Pistons or the Chicago Bulls of the world at that time. But yeah, postseason success matter. Longevity matters to me in these conversations. To me, it matters a little bit more so. Being able to sustain that greatness over a long period of time matters a lot. Your overall dominance in your era compared to your peers. And I think how your peers feel about you should also matter in this conversation. All right. Now, I used to be of the opinion that LeBron James was the better basketball player. I no longer feel that way. And why is that? Well, stats matter. Statistics do matter. But sometimes when you're looking at stats, you have to take certain things into consideration. Now, LeBron James right now has a 27.1 points per game career scoring average. Kobe Bryant, 25 points per game. So one of the arguments that you'll hear from a LeBron fan is, look, LeBron's not even a scorer per se. LeBron, his main strength is uh, playmaking and passing. But, that's not even his strongest uh, asset. And he's has a higher career scoring average than Kobe. I mean, look at that. That's just remarkable. He has a higher field goal percentage than Kobe. So it's a no-brainer. That's not even his strongest, which is absolute bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. And it gets said so much that it just becomes something that people just say. First of all, while LeBron James is not the polished overall scorer with the versatility, the tricks in the bag that a guy like Kobe and Mike and George Gervin may have had, but he is, make no mistake about it. He was one of the most dominant scorers the game has seen in the past 17 years. On a per game basis, he's the most dominant. Now, I think that in the past 10 years, the best scorer has been Kevin Durant. In the past 2 decades, the best scorer was probably Kobe Bryant. As far as getting you a bucket from anywhere on the court with any type of consistency, overall shooting, it's those two guys. But LeBron James, even though he can't hit shots consistently from all over the court, he has his spots. He knows where his spots are. And he can hit those shots at a good clip. He has certain spots he likes to shoot from beyond the arc, and he hits them at a 34 to 35% clip. It's pretty good. All right. But we all know that his scoring is more predicated on his physicality, using his strength, and especially as he's gotten older, utilizing his strength more and using his strength more and bullying his way to the basket, and oftentimes getting and ones or layups or whatever. That's partially why he has a higher career field goal percentage, because he's more selective in the type of shots that he takes. He goes for more higher percentage shots, where Kobe Bryant, oftentimes being double teamed, oftentimes having to force up bad shots. But because Kobe Bryant was such a master of the mid-range jump shot, which we all know statistically, the mid-range shot is probably the least rewarding shot. Percentage-wise, I think the league average is like 43% with mid-range shots, something like that. May have fallen over the past couple of years because people don't take the mid-range shot they used to. But Kobe has always been somewhere around 42 to 44% mid-range, I think. Whereas LeBron is somewhere around 36%. So Kobe has always been consistently more accurate from the mid-range than LeBron James. From three-point range, Kobe, even though he has a lower career three-point percentage than LeBron, I think that Kobe was a better three-point shooter, especially when he got hot, and he could hit threes from all over the court. Now, he didn't have the range like Steph Curry had, but to me, if you watch Kobe Bryant play, you could see that he was a better overall outside shooter than LeBron James. Um, at one point in time, Kobe's three-point percentage was about 34%, which is comparable to LeBron shoots. But it started falling. If you look at his career, Kobe Bryant's three-point percentage started falling after the Achilles injury. And that would make sense because any type of injury that affects your lift will affect your shot. And the farther you are out, if anything's affecting the lift of your shot, the lift that you get when you're trying to attempt a shot, it's going to affect your shot. And his three-point percentage plummeted the last 2 years he played in the league. And because he didn't have the speed that he once had, the ability to, and he lost a lot of explosiveness to be able to beat guys off the dribble, he had to settle more and more for shooting outside. And that's when he was starting to have these terrible outside shooting games. The type of games where I was fucking with him, on my channel. And that caused the three-point percentage to plummet. Free throw shooting, we all know it's not really a contest here. LeBron, at one point of his career was like a 75, 76% free throw shooter, but that's gone down as he's gotten older. He's, I think, like 74% for his career. Kobe was 84% for his career. This year, I think in the fourth quarter, LeBron is like 61% from the free throw line in the fourth quarter. I often got the impression that during four quarters, Kobe, if they tracked it, might have been closer to 90%, as was the case with Michael Jordan. Which leads me to another thing, this clutch factor. Now, as great a player as LeBron James has been throughout his career, this is the one thing that people tend to bring up. This beta male thing. LeBron James has this infamous reputation for being a guy that lacks heart, lacks the killer instinct, or whatever you want to call it. Some people get offended by that, but if you watch these two guys play, even if you don't like Kobe, you still know what I'm referring to. There are times when, as the leader of the team, as LeBron James often is, and has always been, there are certain times where he is deferring too much in certain situations, when he should be taking the shot. And yes, it's true, maybe in his mind, because he's, a playmaker by nature, maybe he feel like he's going to this guy because he can recall when Danny Green or James Jones or Kevin Love or Ray Allen have throughout the season have made a shot at this angle in this situation, and maybe he's going through all these things in his mind. He's like, well, I think it's better for me to make the pass instead of me going for it myself. Maybe that's a higher percentage play. Whereas a guy like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, well, especially Kobe, they always feel like they're the best option. Get the fuck out of my way. Let me do what I got to do. I'll live with the results, whether I lose, whether I miss it or make it. And that gunslinger mentality draws people in. It draws in the adoration of fans who either share I don't mean this to be funny. People who are drawn toward the alpha male personality in sports. Okay, kind of like how some people are drawn toward the idiot in the White House that we have because he exudes alpha male, even if he's not really one. Honestly, people are attracted to him because of the alpha male personality he has. If you're an older school fan of sports, you like the Brett Favre. You like these type of guys who said fuck caution. I'm throwing caution to the wind. I'm going for it. And Kobe Bryant was the epitome of that. You know what I'm saying? There was not a situation where Kobe would, for the most part, not take a shot, and oftentimes he made it. I know there's statistics out there that claim that Kobe's clutchness is overrated, but I will tell you this: there are many times he's the only basketball player that I've seen in my lifetime, other than Carmelo Anthony. And people don't know this about Anthony. They're the only two guys who, if they're on the opposing team that I'm rooting for, and they take the final shot, that I get fear in my heart because I think they're going to make it. With LeBron James, if he takes a shot, I always feel like he's going to miss it. And don't get me wrong, he's made the shot sometimes, but I oftentimes feel like he's going to miss it, and it seems like he misses it most of the time. Same thing with like John Havlicek. You look at the career field goal percentage, 43%, and you're thinking to yourself, God, why does this guy get so much praise? He's like he doesn't make any shots. But if you ask his opponents, you ask his peers, they said John Havlicek thing he always made every fucking thing because he made them when they counted. He might miss 6 shots in a row, but when the team needed him to make a shot, John Havlicek Honda would deliver. So statistics don't tell everything. Defense, both of these guys in their primes were above average defenders. LeBron earlier in his career was noted for the chase down blocks in his highlight reels. I think the best version of LeBron that we saw was the Miami Heat LeBron. Uh, Playing under Pat Riley, you better play fucking defense. And while he wasn't the most coordinated defensive guy I've seen, he his size and physicality alone were enough to warrant respect on the defensive end. Now, ever since the Miami days, his defense has sputtered out to the point where he's now, even though he gives effort in spurts, he's not really noted for his defensive ability. Whereas with Kobe Bryant, with the exception of maybe the last few years when he was falling apart, for the duration of his career, Kobe Bryant was noted for his defensive ability and his tenacity, especially when he was on center court, when he was on stage, when he was on television. Kobe was a tenacious defensive player. Both of them are pretty. Both of them were pretty good at getting in the passing lanes and going for steals. I think Kobe was a little bit better at that than LeBron. I think Kobe was a better defensive player. Now, rebounding, LeBron averages over 7 boards per game. Kobe averaged, I think, 5 rebounds per game. But when you think about it, Kobe listed 6'6", really 6'5". LeBron probably is 6'8", legit, probably 6'9" in shoes. So LeBron is probably about 3 inches taller than Kobe. LeBron in his prime was stronger. Well, he's still stronger than Kobe was. And as athletic as Kobe was, LeBron was an uber athlete in his prime. You know what I'm saying? I think Kobe at his peak probably had like a 38-inch vertical leap. LeBron probably in his prime had a 43, 44-inch vertical leap. Okay. I would say he's probably now has like a 38-inch vertical leap or something like that. But when you look at these physical gifts that he had, you wonder to yourself, why is it LeBron wasn't a better rebounder? You know, Larry Bird, 6'9.5", only had a 28-inch vertical leap, playing on the front line that included guys like Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish. Earlier on, it was Robert Parrish and Cedric Cornbread Maxwell, but Bird was still able to average double-digit rebounds. You know, for his career, 10 rebounds per game. Earlier on in his career, before the back injuries, Bird was pulling down like 11 rebounds a game or whatever. There was some playoff series where he averaged 12, 13 rebounds per game, but lead the team from the small forward position. So you wonder, why is it that LeBron hasn't had seasons where he's at least averaging, you know, uh, double-digit rebounds? Luka Doncic, who's just in his second season, is averaging, and he's 6'7", he's averaging 9 rebounds per game, especially in this era that he played in, you know? Uh, Playmaking, of course, the edge will go to LeBron James. There's no dispute about it, although I think that was an underrated aspect of Kobe's game. But when it comes to playmaking, LeBron is one of the great all-time playmakers, passers this game has ever seen, especially in his first stint with the Cleveland Cavaliers. All right? I think some of the highlights now, they kind of go overboard with how enthralled they are with it. You know, some of this shit that he does is basic sometimes, but still, he just passed Isaiah Thomas on the all-time assist leaders. I think he's not 8th all-time now. It's going to be a while before he passes Chris Paul, because Chris Paul is still active. So, you know, yeah, that aspect of it, to me, no doubt about it, it's LeBron James. Okay, so playoff success. LeBron, 3 NBA championships. 9 final appearances altogether. Kobe Bryant, 5 NBA championships, 7 NBA finals appearances altogether. Now, what does that mean? I mean, you could look at it different ways. People who are LeBron fans will say, well, Kobe Bryant was gifted with playing on teams with talent from the get-go. He was traded during the draft from Charlotte to the Lakers in the Vlade Divac trade, and he came on a team that already had just snatched the biggest free agent prize that year, Shaquille O'Neal, in his fucking prime. Okay, and you had other guys who was on that team. You had uh, Nick Van Exel was on that team. Eldon Campbell was on the team. Eddie Jones. I think Rick Fox. That might have been his first year on that team. So I think was Robert Horry on that team that year, or was he still with Houston? I want to say Robert Horry might have been on that team, and then went to Phoenix, and then came back to Houston to Lakers. But anyway, there was a lot of players on that team that year. All right, they underachieved. They were probably the most talented overall team in the NBA, but they were underachieving. But Kobe had to earn his. You know what I'm saying? Kobe had to earn his from the get go. You know what I'm saying? Kobe had to earn his from the get go, and but still, he was on these teams that already had talent. Well, LeBron James was drafted on teams that were pretty poor. So there's that argument. But LeBron more than made up for that after 2010. All right. After 2010, LeBron James, from July 2010 till this date, LeBron's teams have been involved in 43 trades. And I have a feeling that they're going to add to that before the trade deadline this year. Uh, One of the knocks on LeBron James is, despite the fact that there's this perception that he makes players around him better. There's always this argument in the media that his team still needs to make improvements. Just like this year, the Lakers are the second best team record-wise in the NBA. The best record in the Western Conference. They pretty much had the best record in the Western Conference almost since the first week of the season. But yet, if you look at the media, if you listen to the media, they talk about Kyle Kuzma as if he's a weak link and the Lakers need to further improve and add another superstar. Never before in my 30 years of watching basketball have I ever seen the media openly root for a particular player to get a super team. Never with Jordan, never with any of these other guys. I've never seen them root openly to try to recruit guys and pressure guys into joining a player to give them an easier path to a championship. All right. So I didn't see that with Kobe. If anything, after Shaq left in 2004, after he was traded, I kind of got a sense that the media was tired of Kobe. Like, especially the 2004, 2005 season when Kobe had like a pretty much down year. It's like they kind of like they washed their hands of him. Like, okay, you had this guy on your team, you ran him out of town. Now show us something. And then he did show us something. He showed us some historic shit, some absolutely historic shit in the 2005, 2006, and 2006, 2007 season. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely remarkable. 2005, 2006 season, Kobe Bryant averaged 35.4 points per game for the Los Angeles Lakers and individually willed that team to a playoff spot. I thought he should have won league MVP that year with Steve Nash. And he did that in a league where the league scoring average was 97 points per game. If he was doing that today, Kobe would be averaging over 40 points per game. That's how dominant a campaign that he had that year. It's the number one scoring season of all time when you take in pace, when you take pace into account. you know, but he's more than just the 81 points per game, the 62 points in three quarters. He's more than these, the 65-point performance against the Portland Trailblazers. He's more than these individual burst games. Those burst games were something to behold. And, at the end of the day, I just got to go with Kobe. I just have to go with him, man. Like, the numbers can say one thing. Like, LeBron averaged 27.1. Kobe averaged 25. But Kobe didn't become a full-time starter until I think his third or fourth season in the NBA. Then when you go from 1999 onward, his scoring average for his career is like 27 points per game. You take away the last 3 years after the injury, it's like over 27 points per game, or like 28 points per game. So Kobe was a phenomenal scorer, one of the best scorers the league has ever seen. I just think Kobe was better, man. I think he was a more exciting player to watch. Although LeBron James is a dominant basketball player, watching him play sometimes can be a little bit boring. You know, I'm not saying that should take away from anything, but sometimes he can be a little boring to watch. It's sort of like Muhammad Ali. Now, everyone would probably rank Ali over Tyson, but Tyson was exciting to watch. Ali could sometimes have some very boring fights. Okay, that's just the truth of the matter. Then another thing that has to be mentioned, and this is key, the respect that he had from each one of these guys had from their peers. The respect that Kobe Bryant receives or did receive from his peers throughout his career, the closest thing I could see to that was Michael Jordan. And that's the guy most people compare Kobe to. And the respect that he garnered throughout his career is ridiculous. Like there was a true fear factor for even the most elite players in the league during Kobe Bryant's tenure, and the respect that he garnered throughout the league and for players and for coaches is remarkable. You know what I'm saying? And you'll see that in the Hall of Fame enshrinement coming up this year. With LeBron James, there's a level of respect there. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of respect there. But I don't see it to the extent that I saw with Kobe. With Kobe, it was like almost like they revered him. With LeBron, it's like he's a great player, but I, I can't see. I still have images of the All-Star game when Kobe Bryant blocked LeBron's shot like twice, and I think like if I'm not mistaken, I think like when he blocked his shot one time, Kobe's hand like caught up in this headband, LeBron's headband, that knocked it down or something over his face or something, and it's I don't know, man. It's just I've seen too many games where I saw guys trash talking LeBron, uh, guys who don't belong in the same level, but they were not even supposed to be on the same level as LeBron, but they're trash talking him and it's getting into his head. And I've seen times when LeBron will actually quit on his team. You know what I'm saying? Because of the situation. And I don't know. It's just I also get images of Draymond Green and other guys talking shit to him. I just don't see the same reverence from his peers that I saw with Kobe from his peers, and even the guys playing today revere Kobe more so than LeBron. So it's just, like I said, it's just my opinion. There's gonna be people that's gonna disagree with me and say I'm a LeBron hater. I don't give a fuck anymore. Don't give a fuck. But at the end of the day, they're both tremendous players. But I have to put Kobe Bryant ahead of him. Man. And, there's still so many other things I can think of, man, to add to my argument. Yeah, LeBron kept making it to the finals 8 consecutive seasons. But let's be honest, man. After the after the Boston Celtics fell apart, right? After the Boston Celtics fell apart and the Chicago Bulls, they were more pretenders than anything. But let's say for the sake of argument, after Derrick Rose fell apart, who was there really in the Eastern Conference to contend with LeBron and the Cleveland Cavaliers during that time, that entire span? The Pacers with Paul George, the Raptors with DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. I mean, let's be honest. Come on, like, who really? I know you're not supposed to penalize him for who his competition was, but let's be honest. Like, who really was there to contend with this guy? And still, even with that, even with that, the Celtics fucking took this team to a limit in 2018 without Kyrie Irving and without Gordon Hayward. They just took them to the limit in that fucking series. And you contrast that with Kobe Bryant when he was with the Lakers. I think he has the record for most being on teams that have beaten the most 50-game win teams in his career. Like a player that's beaten the most 50-game wins in his career. Throughout his career, this guy's had to get championships the hard way. Like he's had to go through teams like going all the way back to the beginning of his career. Like they had to go through teams like the Utah Jazz that was making it to the finals. They had to try to go through the Spurs that won a title in '99. They had to go through the Sacramento Kings, who some people feel like they were cheated out of a championship potentially. In 2002, they had to go through, the Dallas Mavericks. You know what I'm saying? They had to go through the Phoenix Suns when Steve Nash was making a little noise. They had to go through the later iterations of the San Antonio Spurs with Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. All right? They had to go through all these teams. They had to go through Carmelo Anthony and Denver Nuggets. It was never an easy ride for them. It was never easy. And there's some teams I'm forgetting to even bring up. You had the Houston Rockets with Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming. You know what I'm saying? You had, for a little while, you had the Utah Jazz with AK-47 and what was it, Deron Williams and those guys. Like Kobe had a tougher path to the championship than LeBron, in my opinion. So at the end of the day, that's why I would rank Kobe Bryant ahead of LeBron James historically.